Welcome to Folktales. In the bustling district of Ikoyi, amidst the manicured lawns of opulent homes, lived two women, Kioma and Gloria, whose friendship was as enduring as the Lagos traffic, a bond forged in their university days and tempered by the rigors of modern life. They had navigated career upheavals, celebrated lavish weddings, and rejoiced through the blessings of pregnancy, even surviving years of transatlantic calls and brief, joyous reunions. Fate, with its penchant for dramatic reunions, eventually brought them back to the same upscale neighborhood, their children enrolled in the city's most prestigious private schools, their lives intertwined once more in the pulsating rhythm of urban existence. Chioma, a woman of elegant poise, had chosen to dedicate her days to the meticulous management of her household and the careful nurturing of her only daughter, Edua. Her home was a sanctuary of order, her expectations firm, her resolve unwavering in her mission to raise a daughter whose respectability would be the talk of their social circles. Edua, at 13, was her mother's reflection, soft-spoken, unfailingly obedient, and graceful, a blossoming rose in Kioma's carefully tended garden. This was Kioma's pride, a testament to her disciplined approach to parenting in a city where distractions lurked at every corner. Gloria, on the other hand, was a whirlwind of energy, her sharp mind honed by years as a senior civil servant in a government ministry. Her designer suits and luxury SUV were emblems of her bustling career, her laughter quick to erupt, even when discussing the serious business of raising children. Her son, Tachuku, also 13, inherited her vivacious spirit, bright-eyed, endlessly playful, and brimming with an insatiable curiosity that often led him down unexpected paths. In their modern Lagos homes, where societal expectations of women often pulled them in multiple directions, Kioma and Gloria embodied two distinct approaches to motherhood, each believing their path was the righteous one. Driven by a nostalgic desire to preserve their cherished friendship, Kioma and Gloria actively sought to extend this bond to their children. They frequently gathered for elaborate Sunday brunches or playdates in their sprawling living rooms, where the scent of exotic spices mingled with the latest R&B music. It was during these light-hearted moments that the mothers often indulged in playful banter, nudging their children together with phrases like, "See your husband, Edua," or "Ah, my in-law has arrived." The children, still basking in their youthful innocence, would giggle, dismissing it as another quirky adult joke, unaware that these seemingly harmless words were slowly, subtly, planting seeds in the fertile ground of their impressionable minds, seeds that would, in time, sprout in ways no one could have predicted. As fate would have it, Edua and Tachuku found themselves walking the same polished corridors of the elite junior secondary school, a beacon of academic excellence perched amidst the city's concrete jungle. Though separated by classroom numbers, their paths inevitably crossed. During the solemn morning assembly beneath the shimmering Nigerian sun, amidst the boisterous camaraderie of break time in the expansive schoolyard, and as they dispersed into the swirling afternoon traffic, after the final bell, their friendship, once a maternal aspiration, was now a daily reality, nurtured by shared experiences and the casual intimacies of school life. Chioma approached the sacred duty of parenting with the unwavering precision of a seasoned architect, her home governed by rules as unyielding as the city's highest skyscrapers. Edua, for instance, was strictly mandated to knock before entering her parents' opulent master suite, a boundary fiercely upheld. Kioma's watchful eyes were a constant presence, meticulously monitoring Edua's every movement, supervising her homework with unwavering focus, and only permitting visitors when she herself was present, a sentinel guarding her daughter's innocence. An unripe fruit must be protected from eager hands, she often mused, embodying the protective vigilance of a mother striving to shield her child from the unforeseen currents of a bustling metropolis. Her conviction was that strictness was the unyielding pillar upon which true respectability was built, a necessary shield in a world full of unseen perils. Gloria, while a loving mother, moved through life with the fluid ease of a free-flowing river, her parenting style a stark contrast to Kioma's meticulously ordered approach. Her demanding role as a civil servant, navigating the labyrinthine corridors of government offices, often left her and her husband, Mr. Okachukwu, utterly drained by the evening's encroaching shadows. Consequently, the doors of their sprawling master bedroom often remained casually ajar at night, a seemingly insignificant oversight in their bustling lives. "What is there to hide?" Gloria would sometimes joke. "It's just the three of us in this home, no strangers." They assumed that because no external threat existed, the internal sanctuary of their family was impervious. Yet, the wisdom of their ancestors often spoke of unseen cracks, even in the strongest calabash. Unbeknownst to them, these small acts of omission, these carelessly left open doors, were creating subtle fissures in the fragile innocence of their young son. Sometimes, Tochukwu, in his innocent ramblings to the bathroom, would unknowingly stumble upon intimate moments, fleeting glimpses that his parents dismissed with hurried shouts, "Get out!" or "You're not supposed to be here." There were no explanations, no gentle conversations about the mysteries of the adult world, only abrupt commands. They assumed he would forget, or that such fleeting images held no lasting power. But a child's mind, like soft clay, retains every impression, and Tochukwu, far from forgetting, found his curiosity ignited into a silent, burning ember. Tochukwu's young mind, far from forgetting, began to weave a tapestry of intrigue from these fleeting glimpses. He didn't fully grasp the adult rituals he observed, but he sensed their profound secrecy, their hidden significance. The whispers from his parents' room, the rhythmic movements, the urgent, hushed tones, all conspired to awaken something profound and unsettling within him. He began to tiptoe to their door each night, standing sentinel, listening intently, his heart a curious drum against his ribs. The secrecy, the unfamiliar sounds, the forbidden nature of it all slowly chipped away at the edges of his innocence, replacing it with a burgeoning, confused curiosity. When the hushed sounds finally ceased, Tochukwu would retreat to his room, his heart a tumult of unanswered questions. He would then retrieve his worn sketchbook, a hidden treasure, and with deft, unseeing hands begin to translate his fragmented memories onto paper. Tochukwu was a prodigy with a pencil, his art often drawing praise from his teachers. His school, walls adorned with his vibrant depictions of Lagos landmarks and bustling markets. But no one knew of the secret canvases he now filled, drawings born from the shadows of his parents' room. Without fully understanding the gravity of his actions, a strange pleasure began to root itself in his young heart, a dangerous bloom replacing the tender bud of his childhood. His innocence, like a fragile sandcastle before an encroaching tide, was slowly eroding, leaving behind a landscape of perplexing thoughts. One stifling afternoon, as the city simmered under the relentless sun, a dangerous thought coalesced in Tochukwu's mind, a whispered secret that felt too grand to keep. "I'll tell Edua," he mused, the words barely audible. "Maybe she'll like it too. After all, our mothers always say we're going to get married someday." The innocent jokes of their mothers, once a source of childish laughter, had now become an unwitting permission, a false prophecy fueling a forbidden curiosity. That very afternoon, during a carefully supervised playdate at Chioma's immaculate home, Edua and Tachuku sat cross-legged in the cool, air-conditioned living room, a half-finished board game forgotten between them. Chioma, humming a Yoruba gospel tune, was in the kitchen, meticulously arranging an assortment of fruit and pastries, blissfully unaware of the treacherous currents gathering in the next room. "Do you know what mommies and daddies do at night?" Tachuku asked, his voice a sudden, startling invasion of the quiet air. Edua looked up, her brow furrowed in confusion. "What do you mean? My parents?" He leaned closer, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "They do something at night. I've seen them. Daddy is always on top of Mommy, and they make weird sounds. Sometimes Mommy even shouts." Edua's nose crinkled in genuine bewilderment. "That's strange. I've never seen my parents do that, and I don't think my mom would ever let me see something like that." Tachuku, imbued with a newfound sense of worldly knowledge, shrugged. "That's because they're hiding it from you. But I've seen it many times. It happens all the time in my house." Dua's eyes, wide with a mixture of apprehension and burgeoning fascination, were fixed on Tachuku. "Really?" she whispered, a primal curiosity stirring within her. Tachuku, puffed up with a childish pride, leaned back, a smug smirk playing on his lips. "I know a lot of things. I'm more mature than you." Edua, ever the rational one, frowned. "We are the same age, Tachuku. You're not older than me." He chuckled, a sound that held an unnerving edge. "Maybe not in age, but I know what adults do in their bedroom. You don't." An awkward silence stretched between them, heavy and suffocating. Then, Tachuku, with the careless abandon of a child unaware of the weight of his words, added, "I can show you if you want. It's something grown-ups do. I can even teach you how." Edua remained silent, her young mind a battlefield of conflicting emotions. A part of her, the burgeoning curious spirit, was drawn to the forbidden knowledge, a siren, song of adulthood. But another part, guided by an instinct she couldn't articulate, recoiled in discomfort. "I don't know," she said softly, her voice barely a whisper. "I even have drawings," Tachuku interjected, his voice imbued with a newfound confidence. He rummaged in his school bag, pulling out his well-worn sketchbook. He flipped through the pages, revealing the secret images he had carefully rendered. "Look," he said, handing them to her. Edua stared at the crude, yet disturbingly accurate depictions and gasped, her breath catching in her throat. "What if your mom sees this?" she asked, her voice laced with fear. He smiled, a chilling absence of concern in his eyes. "She won't. My mom doesn't check my bag. She's always too tired when she comes back from work." Edua closed the book slowly, her heart pounding a frantic rhythm. Something about the entire exchange filled her with an inexplicable unease, a premonition of danger that her young mind couldn't, yet, grasp. In that moment, two children sat in the heart of a vibrant city, their innocence teetering on a precipice, too young to understand the profound implications of the conversation they had just shared. That night, the quiet order of Chioma's home felt suddenly dissonant to Edua. Usually, after dinner, she would retreat to her sanctuary of books or cartoons, but tonight, an invisible tether held her rooted in the kitchen, observing her mother, as she washed dishes with practiced ease. Her heart, a frightened bird, fluttered erratically. "Mommy," she began hesitantly, her voice barely a whisper against the gentle clinking of porcelain. Chioma, her back to Edua, replied without looking up. Yes, Edua. Edua paused, carefully assembling her words like stacking fragile bricks. What? What do parents do at night in their room? Kioma froze, the plate in her hand slipping slightly, producing a sharp clink against the stainless steel sink. She turned slowly, her expression a mix of confusion and alarm. Where did you hear that from? She demanded, her voice sharper than usual. Edua's eyes darted to the floor, her shoulders slumping. I was just asking. No, Edua, Kioma countered, drying her hands with an abruptness that signaled the end of the conversation. That's not the kind of question a girl like you should be asking. You're too young to talk about things like that. Her voice rose, laced with an unfamiliar anger. Who told you to ask me such nonsense? Edua's lips quivered. Nobody. I just wanted to know. Enough, Edua! Kioma's voice was now a whip crack. Stop it! Edua blinked, stepping back, shocked. She had never witnessed her mother so agitated over a simple question. I don't want to hear that kind of talk from you again, Kioma continued, her voice stern. Focus on your books and your future. Don't let any child fill your head with rubbish. Edua nodded quickly, her eyes brimming with unshed tears, and retreated to her room. She hadn't intended disrespect. She was merely curious. But now, a profound shame settled over her, a crushing weight that silenced her burgeoning questions. Back in the quiet sanctuary of her bedroom, Edua sat on the edge of her bed, the silence of the room a stark contrast to the cacophony of her thoughts. Why had Mommy reacted with such anger? Why was the truth so terrifying to explain? If it was inherently bad, then why did Mommies and Daddies engage in it? She clutched her pillow. The drawings Tachuku had shown her flashing vividly in her mind's eye. She hadn't fully comprehended their meaning, but they had stirred an unsettling curiosity, a strange discomfort that now festered within her. She yearned for someone to explain, to demystify the adult world that seemed so guarded. But not even her usually approachable mother had been willing to bridge that chasm. A quiet resolve solidified within her. I'll ask Tachuku again tomorrow, she whispered into the stillness of her room. He knows, and he wasn't afraid to tell me. She couldn't articulate the magnetic pull he exerted, nor the precise nature of the understanding she sought. All she knew was that a dormant part of her, a nascent curiosity, had been irrevocably awakened, and now, denied by the one person she trusted most, it had nowhere to turn but back to the boy who had first illuminated its path. The next day, amidst the cacophony of break time, Edua found Tachuku beneath the sprawling mango tree, a verdant island amidst the concrete school grounds. Her heart thrummed an anxious beat as she approached. Tachuku, she began, glancing around to ensure their privacy. Can we talk about what you showed me yesterday? His eyes lit up, a triumphant glint replacing his usual playfulness. I was waiting for you to ask again, he declared, a proud smirk on his face. He leaned closer and, in hushed tones, began to unravel his secret world, detailing his observations, his drawings, and the illicit thrill that now accompanied them. Edua listened intently, drawn in by the conspiratorial gleam in Tachuku's eyes, the way his voice dropped to a thrilling whisper. He spoke with the confidence of someone privy to a profound secret, a hidden truth about life that adults guarded jealously. Something about his forbidden knowledge resonated with the part of her that Kioma had silenced, the part that craved understanding. As days bled into weeks, their clandestine meetings became a ritual, a silent pact forged in the quiet corners of the school, behind the old assembly hall, or nestled by the forgotten library wall, places where the clamor of youthful exuberance couldn't reach them. They laughed, they whispered, they spoke of things that children their age, shielded by the protective cocoons of their privileged upbringings, had no business discussing, and slowly, imperceptibly, the vibrant hues of their innocence began to fade, replaced by a somber palette of nascent understanding and dangerous curiosity. "I would have shown you how my daddy and mommy do it," Tachuku confided one afternoon, "but your mommy will never allow you to come to our house alone." Edua frowned thoughtfully, her young mind grappling with the logistical challenge. "So, what do we do then?" "I'll think about it," he replied, his eyes alight with a mischievous spark. "Don't worry, I have a plan." 2 days later, during break time, Tachuku leaned close, his words a conspiratorial whisper against Edua's ear. "Let's meet in the toilet after break. My class is just opposite yours. Once you see me leave, you too can ask your teacher for permission. Say you want to use the toilet." Edua's heart gave a strange, fluttery beat. "Why?" she managed, her voice barely audible. "I want to show you what I told you about," Tachuku said, his voice dropping further. "Don't be scared. It's not bad. Remember, our moms always say, 'We'll marry one day.' So, it's normal." His words, a twisted echo of their mother's innocent banter, resonated within Edua, igniting a nervous thrill that battled with her inherent caution. A part of her was captivated by the idea of being seen as important to Tachuku, a recipient of his secret knowledge. The phrase husband and wife reverberated in her mind, a powerful self-bestowed title. "Okay," she conceded after a pause, "but we can't stay long." "I know," he smiled, a flicker of triumph in his eyes. That day, she followed his instructions, precisely. When Tachuku's figure passed her classroom, heading towards the secluded restrooms, Edua waited, counting the slow seconds. Then her hand shot up, requesting permission to leave. They met in the less-used toilet block at the back of the school, a forgotten corridor shrouded in a quiet too profound for a bustling institution. The faded walls seemed to absorb the sounds, and the cubicle door offered only a flimsy pretense of privacy. The first time, nothing concrete happened. They stood there, two children caught in the awkward ballet of forbidden curiosity, unsure of the next step. But a seed was sown. The next day, they met again. And the next, it became their secret ritual, 5 minutes stolen from the school day, unnoticed by the world. Teachers, engrossed in their lessons, suspected nothing. Classmates, lost in the joyful clamor of snacks and games, paid no heed to their quiet disappearances. To the school, they remained merely two quiet students. But in the deepening shadows of their clandestine meetings, something dangerous began to take root, twisting their innocence into a form none could foresee. Unseen by teachers, unheard by classmates, the insidious secret blossomed in the hidden corners of the school. Yet, a perceptive eye did observe. In Edua's class sat Eugenewa, a girl whose sharp mind and quiet intensity belied her young age. Her mother, a nurse at the bustling teaching hospital, had, with a wisdom rare among their peers, engaged her in frank, age-appropriate conversations about body autonomy and boundaries since she was 10. Eugenewa understood the subtle cues, the unspoken anxieties that most children simply missed. So, when she noticed the unsettling shift in Edua's behavior, the furtive glances towards the door as break time ended, the distracted air, the deliberate timing of her bathroom visits after Tachuku's passing, and the unnerving duration of her absences, A prickle of unease ran down her spine. One afternoon, as the rustle of packing books filled the air, Eugenewa leaned close to Edua. "Why do you always leave class right after Tachuku passes by? And why do you stay so long in the toilet?" Edua froze, her face instantly tightening into a defensive mask. "Why are you monitoring me? Is it your business?" she snapped, her voice low but laced with an uncharacteristic sharpness. "I'm just asking," Eugenewa replied calmly, her gaze unwavering. "Well, mind your own business. You're not my mother." Edua's voice was firm, a boundary drawn in the sand. Eugenewa said no more, but her heart was troubled. A chilling premonition, like the distant drum of a coming storm, settled within her. Something was profoundly wrong, and the thought that it might escalate if left unaddressed was a heavy burden on her young shoulders. The next morning, she watched again. The bell for break rang. Tachuku passed. Minutes later, Edua raised her hand. This time, Eugenewa didn't follow. Instead, with a quiet determination that belied her years, she walked to the staff room, a beacon of truth in the face of escalating danger. Inside the staff room, Mrs. Onai, Edua's class teacher, was sipping tea, a brief moment of respite in her demanding day. Eugenewa approached respectfully. "Good morning, Ma," she greeted. "Yes, Eugenewa. Any problem?" Mrs. Onai inquired, her brow raised. "Ma, I think something important is happening during school hours that you should know," Eugenewa explained, her voice steady despite the apprehension in her heart. "It's about Edua and Tachuku. I've noticed they go to the toilet around the same time almost every day, and they stay very long. I'm not sure what they are doing, but please, Ma, I think you should go and check." Mrs. Onai set her cup down, her movements suddenly deliberate. "Are you serious?" Eugenewa nodded firmly. "Yes, Ma, I think it's important." The teacher stood at once, her composure replaced by a determined urgency, and headed toward the hallway. Her heels tapped a rapid, anxious rhythm against the polished floor as she approached the secluded toilet block. Her heart pounded a worried drum against her ribs. She stopped before the last cubicle, its faded door a silent testament to its infrequent use, and knocked firmly. "Who's inside?" she demanded, her voice cutting through the unnatural quiet. A beat of silence stretched, thick and heavy. Then a quiet, nervous voice emerged from behind the door. "I'm just using the toilet." "Ma," Tachuku stammered. Mrs. Onai's eyes narrowed. She recognized the voice, but she knew it was not alone. "I know both of you are inside," she stated calmly, her voice bees a silken steel. "Come out now." No response. Instead, a muffled whisper, then another. Low, frantic tones, the sound of fear. Something was undeniably amiss. Mrs. Onai knocked. Harder. "Edua, Tachuku, come out now. I won't ask again." Still, the door remained shut, a stubborn barrier to a hidden secret. Mrs. Onai stepped back, a deep breath steadying her resolve. She quickly made her way to the nearest office, returning moments later with the principal, a formidable woman whose stern expression commanded respect, a living embodiment of the proverb, "When an elder speaks, wisdom whispers." The principal walked directly to the defiant cubicle and knocked 3 times, slow and firm, the sound echoing ominously in the silent corridor. "If you don't open this door now," she announced, her voice a chilling promise, "I will call the security man to break it down." A heavy, agonizing pause stretched, thick with unspoken fears. Then, a soft click. The lock turned. The door creaked open, revealing Tachuku and Edwa, their heads bowed low, eyes fixed on the cracked linoleum floor. Their faces were flushed with a mortifying shame, Edwa's lips trembling on the verge of tears, Tachuku unable to meet anyone's gaze. The principal surveyed them for a long, weighty moment, the silence amplifying their silent confession. "To my office." "Now," she commanded, her voice quiet but firm. They obeyed without a word, two children stripped bare by the harsh light of exposure. And just like that, the secret they had nurtured in the shadows, the dangerous game they had played with their innocence, was brutally pulled into the unforgiving light. That afternoon, the principal made two calls from her office, one to Kioma, the other to Gloria. Both mothers, accustomed to calls about academic achievements, were utterly blindsided by the devastating news. They arrived at the school gates, minutes apart, their faces etched with confusion and a dawning horror. The sleek luxury cars they drove now feeling like empty symbols of their fractured peace. Inside the principal's office, the air hung heavy with unspoken anxieties, thick with the weight of shattered innocence. Edwa and Tachuku sat on a polished wooden bench, their heads still bowed, monuments to their shame. The principal gestured for the mothers to take their seats, her voice a gentle, sorrowful murmur. "I want to begin by apologizing," she started, her gaze sweeping between the two stunned women. "What happened today is painful to talk about, but it must be addressed for the sake of our children's future." Kioma and Gloria exchanged a bewildered glance, their minds struggling to grasp the gravity of the situation. "Your children were caught hiding in the toilet during class hours," the principal continued, her voice gaining a somber weight. "They refused to open the door and were whispering inside. This has been happening more than once. Today was simply the day they were finally discovered." Kioma gasped, a choked sound that escaped her lips. "Inside the toilet? What were they doing?" The principal raised a placating hand. "They say nothing physical happened, but based on what we've gathered, they've been discussing inappropriate things. Things no child their age should be discussing, things they don't fully understand. We are deeply concerned." Gloria's face turned ashen, a mask of disbelief. "I don't understand. Tachuku is a quiet boy. He stays at home. I don't know how this happened." The principal looked from one mother to the other, her gaze holding a profound wisdom. "I understand how difficult this must be, but I must tell you both this. The biggest influence in a child's life is not the school. It's the home. Children observe more than they speak. They learn faster than we realize. So, I urge you, please be careful with what you expose them to." She paused, her voice hardening with the necessary resolve. "As a consequence, the school board has decided to suspend both children for 1 month. We believe they need time away from each other and from school to reset with proper guidance." Chioma clutched her designer handbag, her knuckles white, her eyes glistening with unshed tears, the carefully constructed facade of her perfect life crumbling around her. Gloria sighed deeply, a sound heavy with despair. "Thank you, Ma," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Kioma, utterly shattered, could only nod, a silent acknowledgement of their shared downfall. As they walked out of the office, Edwa finally looked up, her gaze meeting her mother's. But for the first time, Chioma's face was an unreadable landscape of grief and confusion, a mirror reflecting the chaos in Edwa's own young heart. When they arrived home, the meticulously ordered sanctuary of Kioma's house felt oppressive, suffused with a palpable tension. Kioma didn't utter a single word to Edua, merely directing her daughter to her room with a quiet, devastating finality. Kioma paced the expansive sitting room, her mind a frantic vortex of recrimination and unanswered questions. An hour later, the familiar hum of her husband's luxury sedan announced his return from work. As soon as Mr. E walked through the door, the dam of Kioma's composure burst, and she recounted the devastating tale, her voice choked with sobs. "What?" Mr. E roared, rising from his seat, his face contorted in a mask of fury. "She did what? Where's that boy? I'll arrest his parents. I'll make sure." "Wait," Chioma interrupted, her voice trembling but firm. "Let's hear from her first." They called Edua into the sitting room, the air thick with impending confrontation. "Tell us the truth," her father demanded, his voice a steel-edged blade. "Why were you hiding in the toilet with that boy? What were you two doing?" Edua's eyes welled with tears, her lower lip trembling uncontrollably. "It was Tachuku," she confessed, her voice a barely audible whisper. "He told me he always sees his mommy and daddy at night, doing something, and he said it's what adults do in private. He even drew pictures." Her parents stared at her, stunned into horrified silence. The weight of her words hung in the air, a poisonous vapor. "He told me, since our mothers always say we'll marry one day, that we can do it too," she added, her voice cracking, the innocent jokes of their mothers now a twisted weapon. Kioma closed her eyes, a single, solitary tear tracing a path down, her cheek a river of regret for a warning she had ignored. Mr. E rose again, his fury reignited. "That boy! His parents should be locked up. This is how girls are damaged. They've spoiled their son, and now he's spoiling our daughter." But Kioma slowly shook her head, a profound shift occurring within her. "No," she said softly, her voice imbued with a newfound clarity. "Don't arrest anyone!" Her husband stared at her, bewildered. "This happened partly because of me," Kioma admitted, her confession a painful balm. "That night, she tried to ask me a question. She tried to talk to me about this. I shut her up. I didn't want to hear it. I thought she was too young." She looked at Edua, her gaze now filled with a crushing remorse. "I was too strict. I made you afraid to talk to me. I made you hide instead of ask. And that's where we failed you." Edua finally understood, burst into a torrent of tears, years of unspoken fears and confusion spilling forth. Kioma walked over, gathering her daughter into a fierce, protective embrace. "No more secrets," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "From now on, we talk about everything. I promise." In that raw, honest moment, the healing began, not with punishment, but with a profound, aching understanding, a crucial step towards mending the fractured bonds of trust. The very next morning, under the pale, unforgiving light of dawn, Tachuku's parents, Gloria and Mr. Okachukwu, dressed in somber attire, and walked the short distance to Edua's house. Their faces were etched with guilt and profound worry, Gloria clutching a small, trembling purse, Mr. Okachukwu's eyes heavy with fatigue and a humbled shame. Chioma opened the door, her face a mask of quiet gravity, and stepped aside silently, allowing them entry into the tense sanctity of her living room. Inside, Edua's father, Mr. E, sat rigid, his arms folded, his jaw tight, his expression hard as granite. He offered no greeting, no hint of a smile, his silence a palpable accusation. Gloria began softly, her voice a fragile thread. We came to say we are truly sorry. We know what happened was terrible." Mr. Okachukwu added, his voice strained with remorse, "And we are deeply ashamed. We failed to guard our home. We failed our son. And we've failed your family." Chioma sat beside her husband, her face serene yet heavy with a complex tapestry of emotions. Mr. E finally spoke, his voice cold, sharper than the finest knife. "So you came here now, after everything, to say sorry?" Mr. Okachukwu lowered his head, a silent acknowledgement of the pain he had caused. "Yes, sir." "And what exactly do you expect me to do with that? Your son dragged my daughter into something shameful, something that could haunt her for the rest of her life. Do you know what it feels like for a father to see his little girl in tears, talking about things she doesn't even understand?" Gloria's eyes filled with fresh tears, her heart aching with the weight of her son's transgression. "We know we don't deserve your forgiveness, but we had to come to take responsibility." "I should press charges," Mr. E declared, his voice cutting through the heavy silence. "I should call the police and let them deal with it. Maybe then you'll understand the damage you've caused." Kioma gently touched her husband's arm, a subtle gesture of quiet strength. "Let them speak," she whispered, her gaze meeting Gloria's, a flicker of shared sorrow passing between them. Gloria, tears streaming freely down her face, slowly knelt, her hands trembling, a profound act of humility in the face of such profound shame. "Please, we are begging you. We've already started counseling for Tachuku. We are not making excuses. We just want peace. Please forgive us." A long, agonizing silence settled over the room, broken only by the muffled sounds of the bustling city outside. Then, Kioma's husband finally spoke. His voice now softened, the initial fire of his rage tempered by Kioma's quiet strength and the raw sincerity of Gloria's plea. "We accept your apology, and for the sake of the children, we are not taking this any further." Gloria and her husband looked up, a glimmer of fragile hope in their eyes. "But we've made a decision," Mr. E continued, his gaze firm. "We are moving out of the neighborhood," Kioma confirmed, her voice steady. "We want Edwa to start fresh, away from the whispers, away from the shame that will inevitably follow." "We are also changing her school," Mr. E added, his voice resolute. "She needs a place where she can heal, where she can grow without looking over her shoulder, a new slate for her future." The meeting concluded with soft, almost hesitant handshakes, quiet tears, and a somber understanding that while forgiveness was a vital balm, some wounds needed the distance of space and time to truly heal. It was a painful, yet ultimately redemptive, acknowledgement of a truth embedded in the fabric of African communal values, that true harmony often requires both accountability and the willingness to sacrifice for the well-being of the youngest and most vulnerable. The ancient proverb, "When the head of the household neglects their duty, the whole family suffers," echoed silently in the hearts of all present. In their new town, Kioma, a woman irrevocably changed by the crucible of experience, became a different kind of mother. The rigid walls she had built around Edwa, born of a fierce protective instinct, crumbled, replaced by bridges of open communication. "Edwa, you can ask me anything," she declared one quiet afternoon, holding her daughter's hands, her eyes filled with newfound understanding. "No more shame, no more fear. We will talk about everything." She began to teach Edwa about her body, her emotions, the nuances of relationships, and the inviolable strength of personal boundaries, ensuring that her daughter would never again seek answers in the dangerous shadows. Slowly, carefully, Edua began to heal. The gnawing guilt receded. The blush of shame faded, replaced by a quiet, burgeoning confidence. Her journey, born from a painful misstep, became a testament to the enduring power of honesty, the wisdom of open dialogue, and the redemptive spirit of a community that learns from its mistakes, safeguarding its future by protecting its most precious treasures. If you enjoyed the story, then like, subscribe, and share this story with your loved ones. Also, tell us in the comments where you are watching from.